Well, you may have been seeing a lot recently from the BBC, Question Time, that, well, there's no better way to put it other than, look, this woman went on what was basically a racist rant, spreading the exact same racist ideology that led to Brexit, the exact same racist ideology that has been pumped out by the likes of the Daily Mail, the Express. All these right-wing newspapers have been proliferating this for well over more than 2 to 3 decades now. And it was inevitable, sooner or later, this is going to get onto Question Time. However, I really have to take the BBC to task here. Why on earth would you put this woman on and not at least challenge her? Now, I understand that at least one of the panelists did, which I'm glad that they did. But this is something that should just have been cut and not aired, as far as I'm concerned. And it's worrying because it almost seems to want to mainstream this racist attitude. Now, everything this woman said in her complete screed of this was completely and utterly 100% wrong and needs to be countered and fact-checked. That is 100% right. So I urge you, if you see someone, saying how wonderful, quote, that video was, then point them to this video, please, by all means, because I'm going to go through an article now, which basically says this from the Independent, and it's basically, here's every single thing that she said was wrong. So, for a show with the word question in the title, BBC Question Time sure does a lot of monologues with nary a query in sight. Like the corker they aired from last night's broadcast, with a feature of an angry white woman with a speak to the manager air of special ranting to the panel about the effect of immigration in the UK. With one tweet from someone saying here, let's call a spade a spade. This is an unhinged, factually inaccurate racist rant. The BBC saw fit to broadcast it, then clip it for clicks on social media. This shows how backwards Question Time now is. Nope. Luckily, we've decided to do the hard Googling for her, and we've put her assertions to the test. Hope it doesn't make her look too racist or ignorant. That would be a real shame. So, first part, number 1, 68 million people live in England and it's going up. This immediately hit a speed bump here. Actually, the population of England is estimated to be 56 million. The entire UK population is about 66 million, and that includes 3 extra countries, and it still isn't 68 million. As for her claim that it's, quote, going up, technically she's right, but growth slowed in 2019 to the slowest increase. That is of 0.6%, and that has been since 2004. The implication is obvious that migration is causing a massive population boost. In fact, non-EU migration has increased. It's estimated to be 261,000 per year, which is the highest since 2004. But people moving to the UK from the EU has fallen by 58,000 a year. Plus, more EU citizens are moving away from the UK. I wonder why. Now around about 145,000 people are jumping the ship. Number 2, there's no education or schooling infrastructure. The Question Time audience member wants to blame migration for pressure on schools. She might want to look close to home. Despite Conservatives' promises, school funding has continued to be slashed. 1 in 5 schools in 2020 will be worse off than they were in 2015, thanks to funding cuts. There's a shortfall of 2.5 billion in school funding. That will remain despite the pledges to scale up more money for schools. This is a result of years of cuts since 2009. As for the migration's impact on education, apparently, the biggest impact on demand for school places is now how many children are born each year. children born outside England only make up 7% of pupils in primary schools, 10% of state secondary schools. Our own Prime Minister was born in the US. So, once again, migration is not putting an effect on our schooling system. It is lack of funding. And who's responsible for that? The Tories are responsible for that. Number 3, people are, quote, flooding into this country that cannot speak English. As previously outlined, there is not a great flood of migrants coming to the country. It's not even a trickle. As for her claims about migrants being unable to speak English, in 2018, Sajid Javid said that the government had estimated around 770,000 people in England were unable to speak the national language. These figures were taken from data collected in 2011 census, conducted 9 years ago. The non-English speakers are deportedly older individuals. 59% of non-English speakers arrived here after the age of 50. Meanwhile, only 1 in 3 people across the globe study English as a non-native language, and people from Poland, the country with the highest rates of migration to the UK, have a 62% rate of proficiency in English. Meanwhile, Brits are the worst in Europe at language learning. 62% of the population only speak English. Number 4, everything in the NHS is written in different languages. Less data on this, but man, are the signs still written in English too? Yes, then what's your beef? Hospitals across the world often put signs in multiple languages because they recognise that people move and travel, and while you're sick and scared, sometimes translation isn't the top of your priority list. As for the cost of in-person translators, there's not an official stat, but there is an incorrect claim of 100 million, which was wrongly quoted in some tabloids in 2017. But it was then repeated across social media. But these people aren't always in hospitals. Individual NHS organisations commission their own translation services and usually phone someone in when they're needed. Number 5, migrants arrive on a plane and have, quote, free service. This garbled claim seemed to refer to the QT audience members' belief that people who move to the UK do often so for, quote, health tourism. Very quickly and simply reconsider this. Health tourism, i.e. people coming to the UK just to take advantage of the NHS, cost 0.3% of NH spending. You also don't automatically qualify for free treatment as a non-UK citizen, excluding A&E services and walk-in centres, but you can still be charged a hospital fee for services linked to hospitals. And finally, number 6, you wouldn't turn up in America and be allowed to go for free. Not even Americans turn up in America and are allowed to go in for free, but go ahead. Scrap our free healthcare and enjoy paying the £1,500 for an ambulance ride to own the libs. So that's that racist screed completely and honestly taken apart. I really hope this woman is ashamed of herself for what she said, and I hope that she has the sense to actually Google, because all those claims that she made can be easily Googled and debunked very easily. There's this article, again, which we read from there. There's this video now, and there are many others out there that talk about this problem. Immigration is not the problem with the UK. It never has been. The problem is, for our country for the past 10 years, has been the scapegoating of migrants and lack of, and the austerity that the Conservatives and the Tories have done to this country. That is the problem. And until people realise that they're the problem, not these outside, interests. For example, Doncaster just managed to secure £500,000 from the EU so that it can create a programme to help develop work and jobs and businesses for the local community. This is actually something I'm rather proud about my town of, because this project actually started originally in Barnsley, and so far this project has done so well in Barnsley it has been translated to other towns. The main problem is that councils, due to austerity, don't have the funding to be able to do it. So, like my own town, it went to the EU to get that funding. That funding is no longer going to be available. Many of these projects only go until about 2022 or 2023. But there you go. Good luck with that, guys. But yeah, that's complete racist screed debunked, so you're welcome.